We're live. Okay, so I forgot to ask you before we started. How do you pronounce your name? Because you did quite well pronouncing mine, but I didn't try with yours. Is it Arvin?
Arvin. Yeah, I'm Arvin. Hi, Plamen. I'm Arvin Kamberi from Belgrade.
So is that Serbian origin, Arvin?
Yeah, I'm born in Serbia and I'm from Serbia. So it's like Serbia is a melting pot of many people, nations, and you know, as you know it, how it is in Balkans. So yeah, I'm from here.
I've never heard this name.
Well, cool.
Have you?
I guess it's cool.
Yeah. No, because there are some names that are quite unique and specific to their, to their countries, and let's say not like Julia or I don't know, like Lily or something like that. Which
I think that this one is literature actually kind of provoked because my mother was a librarian, and I think it's actually from a book, but nevertheless.
Okay. So, because we delayed just a bit the starting point of our conversation, as you have an overlapping meeting, so we might need to take a quick pause a bit later on for you to
no, it's fine.
Finish up there. So, could you please?
But I have to apologize first, but that's it.
That's absolutely fine. And because it made me impression, you said that you're not full-time Bitcoin. Can you please share with us what do you do then?
Well, basically, I work for a diplomatic academy of Malta and Switzerland. Those two countries have a joint diplomatic academy, what it is actually teaching diplomats. And in particular, we were involved in teaching diplomats around tech issues or the tech policies and things like which are kind of ways how internet is governed and the ways how internet is arranged in an international arena. So basically, we train diplomats to, participate in ITU, Internet Telecommunication Union, to participate in talks around IE for a new global compact agenda, UN. So basically, states send the diplomats to us so we can teach them about the importance of internet and the ways how to actually kind of participate in fora where everything is decided.
Okay, but because I noticed that you said like how, what exactly were your words, like how not does the internet work, but how is it, I imagine that you meant to say how is it physically, what is the physical infrastructure behind the internet? Is this what you meant?
No, governing the internet, it's a complex program. So basically, internet is free and open. That's the one reason why we have a Bitcoin, first of all. And that's my entry point from Bitcoin. That's how I learned about Bitcoin. I was, just a big fan of peer-to-peer networks. If you remember, while back in 2000, we were still not kind of a fully open society. So we use torrents, we kind of use those kind of softwares to acquire something from the internet. And my love from the peer-to-peer and all of this kind of idea of free internet put me in a cypherpunk surroundings. And then just like one step into another, I realized that maybe just like the future of crypto is in front of us. But basically, internet is governed in several ways. Rules, principles, and standards are free and open. So basically, everyone can access the internet. That's the basic point of the internet backbone. And all of these discussions are between technical community, diplomatic community, and academia. There through the processes. Yeah, go ahead.
That's the thing though. When I hear you that the internet is free and it's open, I just disagree. I hear you and I know what you mean, but I just disagree. Air, meaning the atmosphere of the planet, it's free and it's open and no one can stop it. But the internet, when you say it's free, it's open, is it though? Is it to the Chinese? Is it to the North Koreans? Is it once we cut the cables under the oceans? Is it if we cut down the satellites of SpaceX? My point is actually it's a very big international collaboration, just like let's say the International Space Station up in orbit is, which indeed is free and open, but as long as, certain people agree to be free and open, otherwise it isn't.
Exactly. Best we can do is to keep the standards open. Best we can do. We cannot change the people. We cannot change our relationship within how we kind of treat each other, or how, like, who's the strongest going to take a best place in the world or in this future world. But the best we can do is basically keep those basic principles free and open for everyone. What I'm telling you, it's TCP/IP, things like TCP/IP, connectivity, etc. Of course, industries and governments are building over the top on the internet, kind of cutting us off from this free and open route. But peer-to-peer is one of the free and open internet protocols. Come on, I mean, we kind of are proposing it every day with Bitcoin and with other things. So basically, best we can do is give our lives to kind of try to be that way. Of course, there's going to be misuse. Of course, there's going to be power plays. There's going to be geopolitics. But we just can't fix that. As a techies, let's say.
This is why I said that I understand what you mean, especially when you say, let's say, a protocol is just set of rules. So once we establish it, once we all agree these are the rules and this is how we're going to play and so on, it is open for everyone else to join and participate with the same rules, just like the Bitcoin protocol, which anyone can download open source software, anyone can install it, anyone can mine, even you can mine on your laptop in theory, but you're not going to mine anything in practice. That's a different topic. So my point is, though, that just that initially when I heard, the internet is free and for everyone, I just thought how there is a lot of physical infrastructure behind it, and there is a lot of, geopolitical interest in how exactly is the internet going around the planet. And I remember just recently I heard about it actually, that there were some unencrypted data going through some cables somewhere around Russia, and for years they have been listening to this until they finally realized that someone's tapping the cables, and then they started encrypting everything. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah, of course. Infrastructure and geolocalization of the whole internet is the thing, or let's say a battle of 21st century. Are we gonna have a lot of separate state internets which they can interconnect on the top of TCP/IP or any other protocol, doesn't matter, or are we gonna have one unique internet for all, kind of which is now? Of course, it's a challenge. You cannot kind of explain the government that the servers is in our state, so all data is ours. It's not like that on the internet. How the data travels, etc., etc. So basically, it is a future it's a kind of a future what we're gonna envisage. What do you think about a Bitcoin? Will peer-to-peer ever kind of have a gatekeep? This is one of the first protocol ever invented 78 by Postel. So basically, it's kind of a backbone of the internet, kind of a first idea what we had on mind. So we should keep these niches, these kind of if you want, places where we can interact freely, at least between us on the same kind of length wave.
Yeah. I hear you. All right.
I mean, we can kind of spread the fear porn and say everything is doomed. Everyone is going to have guarded the internet. But I mean, come on. Best we can do is to fight otherwise.
Absolutely.
And between us, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So we discussed the internet, the tool that we use for communication that is, as you said, mandatory in order to have the Bitcoin protocol running on it, and for us to be able to have digital property. So can you please share with us, as a starting questions about Bitcoin, there is the standard ones, like, let's say, quickly tell us your Bitcoin story, or when did you hear for the first time about Bitcoin, or why did you become a Bitcoiner, and so on and so on and so on. And I'm sure that you've answered these questions a million gazillion times. So instead of doing that, you tell me, why is Bitcoin important to you? Why do you think it's important for everyone, for humanity?
To be honest, this might be a biased view because it's related to something that happened to us, which is a hyperinflation. If you remember former Yugoslavia, which in that time was Serbia and Montenegro, had a period of hyperinflation, our money became worthless over the night. So we basically, that was all prior to the Bitcoin, or prior to the kind of a digital age. And when the Bitcoin arrived, it's kind of had a purpose. It's kind of had in back of our mind, well, if something like that ever happens, I will now have kind of something that is really valuable. So basically, as you know, Plamen, here in Balkans or former Yugoslavia states, we usually never kind of saved in our currency. We always buy marks, Deutsche marks earlier, or I don't know, euro.
Foreign currencies, yes.
We were searching for a hard currency. To be honest, because our currencies could drop like over the night. So basically, that was a kind of a convention for me that, you can have a use case for Bitcoin, but that use case is really hard to imagine for someone from Western Europe. They can't imagine hyperinflation. They just don't understand what it is. I mean, look at this fast for this, let's say, moderate inflation right now in fiat, comparing that to hyperinflation, what happened in former Yugoslavia. It's not a threat. It's kind of not some idea that Western or developed societies are kind of thinking about it. That everything can go away over the night, like central bank and all of that. So basically, for me, that was a kind of a moment like, wait, so you're telling me that I can have something which I can just like send and not saving it. But touching point for me was the Yu-Gi-Oh cards, to be honest. Yeah. So selling Yu-Gi-Oh cards and things like that on internet. And I realized that there is kind of an internet native currency and start using it. After that, of course, because I'm kind of with science background, I wrote a couple of science publications on it. And from there, I just couldn't stop talking about it, to be honest.
Okay. So, kind of a personal question, but how is your family on the topic of Bitcoin? Like, for instance, brothers, sisters, cousins, mother, father, your wife, kids, and so on. Are they getting it? Are they with you on this?
Only my kids.
The curse of the Bitcoiner.
That's the great thing. The next generation is coming. You can't explain you can't teach. You can't teach new tricks to old dogs. I mean, that's it. I mean, we need a new generation which is actually internet native, digital native, mobile native, if you want. So basically, it's cool. It's cool that only my kids understand this.
We always try to, you could orange peel 1,000 people and still most probably you won't be able to orange peel the closest ones to you, just because there is this stigma about digital stuff or about something that doesn't have a government behind it or some famous person or something like that, which as you said, the future is of our children, the same way that the boomers are now at the end of their journey and the next generation is going to pick it up after them. Then it's going to be our turn to pass down to the next generation.
And they're native with that. They're born with internet. They just don't know, they don't pull all their kind of hopes in government or something like that. They kind of a citizen of the world, let's say it like that. So they want whatever is modern, whatever is, just current. They will understand better what the digital currency is, and of course, they will build the future digital products. Let's face it. I mean, we are, just like the future digital products are. When I'm saying 20 years from now or so, those are people who will actually build it because it's going to be society which needs that. My mom still didn't need it, so that's why she just didn't bother actually. But they will need it, and maybe it's going to be some grim future. Because we often talk about this in our podcast, is about teaching kids actually about finances. And it's really, really kind of weird that one of the most important things in your life when you graduate, which is money, having account, being in a bank, having whatever, income, things, it's never, ever mentioned in your education. From the elementary school till you graduate, never, ever someone tell you, look, this is a credit card and here is how you use it. Never. And this is one of the most important parts of your life is going to become, you're going to spend
Yeah, you're gonna trade 8 hours a day for 5 days a week for this piece of plastic or for some paper, and literally your whole life will be around this, because you need medicine, but in order to get medicine and doctors, you need money. You need a shelter, you need somewhere to grow up your kids,
Insurance,
you need money. Yeah, insurance and so on. So everything revolves around this, and not being
not a single
taught in school.
lesson is taught. Not like how to use it. I'm not saying like what's behind it, what's the science of it, and things like that, but just like how to use it, or how to actually, what is it? Even if it's a fiat narrative, we even don't get that fiat narrative. Never.
Yeah,
ever.
yeah.
So once that become kind of a native, it will bring maybe better understanding to people. And to be honest, look how many people now recognize what is a fiat, what is a central banking. Those terms were not discussed 20 years ago.
Yeah.
We're not. So awareness is kind of raising. And of course, we need time to become kind of a common.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So I have a few questions from the Bulgarian Bitcoin community. I have 2-3 questions that are not exactly Bitcoin related. I would like to go through them and then we'll circle back to Bitcoin. I'm not familiar at all with the context around the questions, so I would like for you, even if you can, to tell me like do you know like what the person asking the question meant exactly, and what's the context, and what's the answer. So the first question is like he asked, can you ask him what does he think about the situation with Djokovic? Is it true that he is going away from Serbia because the government is looking at him like a national traitor because he is supporting the protests?
Oh, well, I guess the framing is, but I really don't know the answer to that question. I really don't know if he lives here or somewhere else, or I'm not aware of that. I'm not such a Djokovic fan, but I'm telling you one thing, that no Serb hates Djokovic. That's just like boss. I mean, I'm not sure what's the context, but I'm really not familiar with this. Sorry, I'm not such helpful here.
Okay.
But it's related to our tennis player and a kind of a protest, which are.
What are the protests about?
Yeah, well, the students from the local universities actually demand kind of responsibilities for a big failure which happened a year or so ago, when a part of the railroad station actually collapsed and killed a lot of people. And just like responsibility, and it's kind of get it out of the hands, and it's like 8 or 9 months now. But basically that was the issue, just like corruption and like who's responsible for that. It was really crappy day. Almost like a brand new train station actually collapsed, so which is crap.
I understand. Okay. And in general in Serbia, other than this situation with the train station, are people happy with where the country is heading towards? I've been in Serbia once or twice, once for sure. I'm not sure if it was the second time there, and I noticed that you have your own money. What was it called? I forgot.
You're in Belgrade? Really? Cool.
I was to Belgrade and to a city starting with K, I think. That's closer to Bulgaria.
Kraljevo or something like that.
Yeah, anyway.
Kraljevo, yeah. Well, can you say anything like that for any Balkan countries? If you see the exodus rate actually from the Croatia, Serbia, Bosnia, even though Bulgaria, Romania, all of those countries, they are just like emptying. So I'm not sure, even if, of course, we can think positive in every kind of a situation, but numbers tells us different. The country is less and less populated every year, and it's not alone. It's Bosnia also, it's Kosovo, it's Montenegro, it's Croatia. I'm not sure how it's in Bulgaria, but
it's down. We used to be 9 million back in 2000, and now we're down to 6 million. So that's like 30% of the population gone in 20 years.
Can you imagine that? Jesus. And that's a short time span. When you say 20 years, it looks like, but it's short time span.
Yeah.
20 years, it's nothing, 2005. I mean, come on. It was just like, so yeah, I mean, it's kind of a way of thinking, but the young people actually showing this with just moving away, moving abroad.
We're abroad though, that's the thing. I'm an economical migrant, like immigrant. When back in 2015, I immigrated to UK. I immigrated to London. Literally, I was making like double the money there while my expenses were not double. Let's say my rent was double, but a lot of, let's say, the food in the store and other stuff were not double. So I was saving a lot more money there than I used to be able to save back in Sofia, Bulgaria. So I stayed there for quite a few years, and then I came back to Bulgaria. And my point is that back then, to me, it made sense to immigrate there. But now, I don't want to immigrate to UK anymore. I don't want to go to London, where, knife crime is going up, and I have a list of other things that I could say about UK that I don't like for the past, that's happening for the past years, but let's not go there. So my point is that today, where are young people going? Is it still Western Europe?
It's Germany. It's Germany, Austria, Switzerland, and Scandinavia, but Germany mostly.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's a major kind of a hub for all of our American workers, or, they're just like schooled here entire life, and they're just like a full doctors, and they just go to Germany, and Germany gets the doctor, which is already, educated, etc. So they don't have to kind of spend money to educate that person. So yeah, basically Germany and Scandinavia, Sweden, things like that. Switzerland, of course, Austria, etc. But again, you mentioned the violence or political kind of turmoils, but the finance are the only things why people move. If you don't have, kind of to feed your family, you will have to move, and that's it. It's always kind of a financial issues. You can't handle it. So it's just like, you just go wherever you can just like earn something. That's the idea. It's not much about turmoil. It's much easier, to live here when you have all of your friends and family, and everyone. It's your street, and it's it's. But if you don't have kind of a bread on a table, it's hard to be patriot.
So again, the majority of Serbians, young people who are immigrated, they're immigrating just because of better wages abroad, right? Just like in Bulgaria.
Exactly. And Germany, yeah. You can see Eurostat data, it's almost like 20,000 per year less in a study rate going to Germany. Yeah. So basically 20,000 is a small town. Come on, every year you lose a small town. So it's not nothing. I mean, will they ever come back? I don't know. Did much of your population get back? Nah, well, not really.
Okay, so
this is an issue which looming around the Balkans altogether. It's not just the Serbia. It's, as I hear from our friends from Croatia, that's exactly the same. Bosnia, even worse numbers. So it's kind of a regional thing.
Yes, but just the point that I was trying to make was that 10 years ago, when I immigrated, I feel like the conditions were better because the wage gap between Bulgaria and UK was much larger than it is today. I feel like for the past 10 years, let's say salaries in Bulgaria doubled, while salaries in UK did not double.
That's great for you guys. That means that Bulgaria is doing fine. And doing fine is a one way how to attract your people back. Which I'm saying, which is economic argument. It's always, and you're making an economic argument, which is cool. It's easier to be in Sofia because that's your town, that's your country. I mean, of course, you're going to choose Sofia over the London, even if London is shiny or whatever, but this is your town. And you would rather live in Sofia if you can actually live there.
I don't know if you've noticed about Poland that they are actually killing it. They're one of the fastest growing economically countries in Europe, and they're a Slav country, meaning that they're much closer to us, to the Balkans, than let's say to UK, for instance. They speak similar kind of language. They speak, they have similar, like they say, kurva, and so on, which is like a word that all the Balkans can understand, and so on. So, but I guess after they broke off the Soviet, they just didn't have that insane level of corruption that a lot of the other countries had, and they just were able to catch up.
And they have a really big population. Let's face it, there is like a lot of Poles, which can create a healthy economy. There is not much of like Croats or Serbs. There is like a couple of millions of us. You can't kind of make these major industrial pushes. Poles could do that. They had kind of a gigantic market, local market.
Yeah. Economy at scale they can do there for themselves, so we cannot. Okay.
As you said, like 8-9 million people, what can you do? I mean, you can, but there are limits. No matter how big land you had, there are limits kind of in output sense.
Yeah. Okay, the next question, which again I don't get completely the context, is can he tell about licenses which are needed in Serbia if you want to be a payment processor for Bitcoin payments?
We have a law on crypto assets, as many of the European states, if not every one. We are not a part of the European Union, so there is a slightly different formulation of digital assets, but basically it's the same. The licenses are issued by our local regulatories, Komisija za hartije od vrednosti, which is something like FCC, and of course you can even kind of run a white paper, and everything is the stable coins are also regulated. This is one overarching kind of a law which was brewing for 5 or so years and was finally put in motion, I think, in 2020. So in Serbia, there are 2 licensed exchange offices, or kind of digital asset handlers, and you apply to the national bank, etc., and they issue this license. And we have 2 registered exchanges here in Serbia.
Okay, and is there, like, when we talk about payment processes, about processing about Bitcoin, is there, like, these how are they called? Like the machines that usually you tap your card, and some of them have software also to generate a QR code to be able to pay with Bitcoin, or even with NFC technology and so on. So is there in Serbia like a local company that is pushing for Bitcoin adoption in terms of merchants to be able to accept Bitcoin?
Yeah. We even had an ITMs back in 2017, but ITM machines who would pay you dinars or kind of do immediate exchange in dinars and pay you back. But yeah, we are doing, well, as much as we can. And there is a company Strike, of course, who will actually do that for Serbia. And there are these general global solutions which will be introduced to Serbia also. I mean, as you all know it, there are kind of solutions which offer you to immediately exchange your crypto to, kind of a Visa, or place it on Visa and pay everything what you want. So all of this works, of course, in Serbia as in any other part of Europe.
Okay.
We are crypto friendly that way, but of course, no one understanding it, and kind of, merchants are still don't, just like want immediately dinars. They don't want to stake it, or they don't want their own wallets, or they don't want to lightning transactions. They're fine if you're going to pay with crypto, but actually exchange it immediately and then place local currency on there.
Understand. That's fine. When the hyperinflation comes, they're going to want the Bitcoin and keep it in Bitcoin.
Exactly. You see, that's the idea. You will realize what the hard money is. Yeah.
So is in Serbia told, let's say, Lightning Network from Bitcoiner to Bitcoiner, is it popular? Are people using it, to settle, whatever finances between themselves? Are using? Would you say that people are using Lightning Network frequently?
Oh, well, still, to be honest, not in a let's say in a way I would love to, but you have to admit that Lightning is not easy still. Even though if you're professional, still not easy. But kind of a majority of Bitcoiners, I'm not saying Bitcoiners, not cryptocurrency enthusiasts, but Bitcoiners, majority of them are kind of from the older generation, are there from the beginnings and still use on-chain transactions. But of course, wallets such as Moon or others are popular. I don't know the exact number of downloads, etc., but there are still no major, let's say, major use in every day, or some kind of integration with the app which is popular in Serbia, but you can pay or something like that. That still waits to be done. And as we know from the, let's say, everywhere in the world where this kind of transaction or this kind of software works, they are mostly on or almost always connected with some popular app, which is, I don't know, something like Airbnb on, I don't know, whatever. Even in China, it's a WeChat, etc. So basically, I am assuming that virtual currency need a kind of a carrier, needs some kind of a great implementation in order to kind of be easy to use and get into everyday transaction. I'm not a big kind of a fan of this mass adoption idea that everyone had, that everyone will pay with money. Not all people know what the word is, or they don't want to, just save, or they don't want to have like millions. They don't want to have a hard money. So I'm not sure that it's going to be like mass big, let's say, I don't know, adoption of it. It's important that major payment channels are adopting it, and whoever is kind of smart enough to use it will use it. I mean, I'm not thinking that Bitcoin needs mass adoption to win. That's kind of my angle.
Okay. We could circle back to that a bit later on when we start talking about Bitcoin specifically. I just want to go through the questions. So the next question is from this person is, can he tell about Hub 21 in Belgrade and the reason that it closed doors? What is Hub 21?
I'm not sure.
It sounds like a bar, not gonna lie. To me, it sounds like a bar that closed down.
I'm not sure. Come again, I can't see the comments. Sorry, guys.
No, it's on our Discord. They're not that public, but like when I announced that we're have a
HP21.
No, Hub, HUB.
A hub 21. Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. I know what happened with that.
Okay, so what happened?
Hub 21. Was basically our tribe, Uglješa, myself, Pavle from Stratum, and other enthusiasts from Belgrade actually opened the hub, which was the open space for Bitcoiners. It was in downtown Belgrade. It was Hub 21, 21, which is related with Einundzwanzig movement from Germany. And it's kind of a branch of it. So 21 in Belgrade is a branch of Einundzwanzig German initiative on Bitcoin education. And we actually opened the hub. We opened the hub to be, let's say, kind of a joint playground for everyone who wants to, learn something about Bitcoin. We run it, and Uglješa is biggest part of it. He just like after a year or so, we just didn't have kind of a sponsors or anything else, and we didn't want any sponsor or anything else. Once we just kind of burned all our money, we closed that down. It was like for a year and a half. So basically, I'm not sure it will reopen, but we tried whatever we could, kind of say. The remnants of Hub 21 is actually this 21 podcast we are doing on YouTube, which is now a big community. But we had to close the doors in Belgrade, actual doors on this major flat in the center of Belgrade.
So what was it like when it was
too expensive.
What was it like when it was still open?
We had the presentations. We had like really big faces there. Uncle Rockstar is from Belgrade. If you know, guys, so he's our friend. He would just be there and take us to the really depths of Bitcoin. We had people from Strike, people from Bitax, and major companies just like, keeping presentations. And it was a place for everyone, just like for Bitcoiners in Belgrade. But, well, we just lost all fundings, which was just like a personal fundings. We didn't have anything. And why we also continue doing that in a podcast, because we like to, kind of speak freely. So that's why in the podcast, we don't have any kind of we don't have any commercials. We are not endorsing anything. We're just talking straight organic talk. And we are kind of not, we are free to talk. That's why we kind of keep that system. But after some times, of course, we run out of the resources, to be honest. Okay. For the in situ place. Now we moved online, and every Sunday at 2 p.m. we do a live podcast on YouTube. It's 21 community, which started like 20, 30 people, and it's around 900 now. So it's a community from all former Yugoslav countries: Bosnia, Croatia, Slovenia, Montenegro, Macedonia, North Macedonia, Serbia, of course. And we just discuss Bitcoin. It's a kind of design in a way, it's a lighthouse. So it's just like every Sunday, 2 p.m., we are there, talk about issues, some kind of community miss, if you want to be, or something like that. And we move online, to be honest. In situ was way more expensive to run it more than 2 years.
Okay. And how would you say is adoption level in Serbia? Meaning, would you place it above global average? Would you place it below global average? Do you think the youth definitely taking, like interest in Bitcoin in terms of a technology that it's not about getting rich quick, but it's about, let's say, the potential to outperform other assets, because you still have to work, you still have to save, meaning not spend it, and then invest it, meaning you take some risk. But to most Bitcoiners, Bitcoin is indeed just the fastest horse in the race, as some people say, and it's just like, the best investment you can make, at least today. So how would you say are people viewing Bitcoin in Serbia, and is there, like, are you happy with the level of adoption?
Yeah, they are sharply divided into those two groups you just described perfectly. So you described them from tip to toes. To be honest, it's just like a wave of people who think that they're too late now. Yeah, Bitcoin, come on, it's 100K. What can I do? It's not going to go to a million. And the same thing they said when there was like a 10K. So basically, it's just like really stupid.
The moment you say it's not going to go to a million, I know that someone doesn't understand Bitcoin. Like, obviously, it's going to go to a million.
So, exactly. So, I mean, that's really not an argument, but it's always like, oh, no. Is it the right time, people? So I call them, is it the right time crew? So for all of those, is it the right time crew? The famous, Martin Luther King saying, it's always the right time to do a right thing. So first you need to know that Bitcoin is the right thing, and it will be self-explanatory that it always is the right time to buy it, or, just like save into the Bitcoin as a hedge against whatever you think is going to come next. And the other kind of people are the one who are really eager to build in Bitcoin. But there is not so much to be built in Bitcoin, Plamen, if you agree with me. I mean, kind of, there is no vivid industry, or I cannot see it, if it doesn't involve like roll-ups, layer 2s, or things like that, digital, I don't know, artifacts or things like tokenization, or that's completely different. But in a main Bitcoin kernel, there is not much to build. And they after short, they kind of maybe it's too hard to say disappointed, but they kind of meh, what's this? You can just like hodl and just like blocks coming out every 10 minutes. Wow, that's not techy enough for us. So basically it's always those two, but regarding the adoption, we do have those two, as I said, exchange offices, and they publish the reports, and the reports are not really something spectacular, so it's above the average and not really used so much.
I remember back in 2021, there was this running joke about what is the difference between a, let's say, Ethereum conference and a Bitcoin conference. When people go to Ethereum conference, they're like, oh, what are you doing in the Ethereum space? And they're like, let's say, oh, I'm doing, I don't know, like decentralized exchange or whatever. Oh, I'm doing NFT. Oh, I'm doing this. Oh, I'm doing that. Like different things that are enabled by the smart contract. And then when you go to a Bitcoin conference, it's like, oh, do you have Bitcoin? Oh, yeah, I have Bitcoin as well. So I understand what you mean, and there is a meme that encaptures that. Think about, is there stuff to be built on Bitcoin? I hear you. However, though, at the same time, I slightly disagree, and here's what I mean by slightly disagreeing. So in crypto, which the distinguish between Bitcoin and crypto. So in crypto, you always have a token which you can sell, and it's a token that you've created out of thin air. So the initial investment is zero, and then you just invest in marketing in order to push for adoption, to push for people to buy, to push for people to use it, because you have it. It's in you. You're the central bank pretty much, because you print it out and you're selling it out to other people. So, and then my point is that there is a financial stimulus in order to push people to develop there, to play with it or whatever. In Bitcoin, because Satoshi Nakamoto is not paying grants, because he's not giving away satoshis to people, there isn't a financial incentive coming from a centralized entity. Even I remember the Winklevoss brothers, who definitely made a killing on their Bitcoin investment. They said, I remember in 2021, I think it was with Anthony Pompliano podcast, and they said that they are not giving a grant to a Bitcoin core developer. And a grant's, let's say, $50K a year, which is like a average salary in US, having in mind that in order to work on Bitcoin, most probably as a software developer, you would be earning in a company above average salary. $50K is like nothing. It's not a proper stimulus for someone to...
It's not sexy.
Yeah, it's not... Exactly. However, so where I'm going with this is that I agree that in crypto there is a lot of financial stimulus created out of the fact that if you create something and then marketeer it, you can, let's say, like Cardano, right? Cardano is a project that started just after Ethereum, something, I don't know when exactly, and my point is that it has how many quadrillion of tokens, like billions definitely, right? And you have Charles Hoskinson, who is well in his own cryptocurrency, right? So of course he's gonna work on it, he's gonna promote it, he's gonna do and that, because he's a billionaire in monopoly money that he created. And with Bitcoin, the difference is that there isn't anyone that finances this and pushes for this. And in my opinion, this is a personal take, the OGs, the people with tens of thousands of Bitcoin, should have been a bit more generous and pushing for, giving away, not giving away, financing software developers to build.
Even software development in other fields. I mean, even fight for the freedom software, open source software, anything like that. And we only see now that after years of criticism, to be honest, Saylor has a fund now, Adam Back and Livestream, they're going to have a fund now. So basically this, and we spoke about this many, many times. I think you're completely right. People who took the most didn't bring, not remotely the most, but let's say like that. And that wasn't kind of a burden because there was not much to be invented in Bitcoin. We wanted a simple Bitcoin, great, but why don't you kind of, even though we now see that with Nostr, they bring so many money and funds to build Nostr, the centralized messaging network. Come on, you guys should think about that earlier. You guys should kind of imagine a new world in which any of those could be helpful.
So that's what I mean, because the part that I disagree with, when I said I disagree slightly, is that I don't think that there isn't what to build. I just would agree that there haven't been built that much. What I mean is, for instance, there was this company, I can't remember the Thunder Games, something like that, which is a company that creates mobile games, and when you play the mobile game, you earn satoshis. And once they're, let's say, 1,000, you can withdraw them on Lightning Network. So my point is that this is a perfect segue to adoption. Or let's say you must have heard of the game Minecraft, right? Minecraft is written in Java, I think, and it's a heavily modded game with a bunch of plugins, and there I know that already exists a plugin that allows Bitcoin payments again there. So my point is that I feel like there is so much integration of Bitcoin in third-party systems that could have been pushed and advocated for and lobbied for, that would have helped Bitcoin adoption so much. So software, there is so much more to be written, even though Bitcoin, just like money, what can you do with money? You can earn it, you can spend it, you can hodl it. That's it. That's total. That's what
you
the money.
don't have a dollar company, you know, like what does company do? Well, like a dollar company, they charge in dollars, cool, like every company.
Yeah.
So basically, if you charge in Bitcoin, you're not Bitcoin company, just like a company like every other. So I'm completely on your side and kind of understand this argument, but this is really hard to explain, to be honest. Especially to the younger or people who are entering in. And to be honest, this promise of decentralized world, tokenized world, gaming, connected VR world are just promises. Not a single of those promises actually end up in a solid product. Not even augmented reality, virtual reality, Second Life, and all of those like second worlds. Nothing of that actually end up in the hands of capable people. All those idea was misused by scammers, to be honest. So that's also we have to kind of have in notion. Might be still early, but the hard money doesn't have much with tokenization. Tokenization is process on itself, which is kind of a native to digital age, native to online gaming, native to social credits, if you want, in China or whatever, might be in every other country, or central bank digital currency, or every other issue which is digital can be addressed with tokenization. And that's a completely different process, which will need a pushing force, which will need everything that all other technologies had. But hard money doesn't have much with that. And it's kind of that line was blurred at the beginning with the massive number of scammers in both areas. But Plamen, imagine how someone tells you, oh, this myth, if you bought that year or on this day 10 years ago for $50, you would now have 10 million. It's not working like that. I'm telling you from experience. It's like you will not wait until you had until it's now 110K. If you bought it for $500, you will sell it at 10K. Or you will sell it at 50. I mean, we are people, we are humans. So basically, let's say a lot of that was a false promises. And another part was what you actually mentioned. It's industry giving back to the society or to community.
I've said multiple times that the only people who got really rich from Bitcoin are either retarded, either people who went to prison. Because my point is like, who hodled 1,000x? Like,
exactly.
who hodled 1,000x? Like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly. You were in a jail, so
all you had was $1,000. You put it in Bitcoin, and then you hold until $1 million. Really?
Yeah, come on. No one did that.
No one did that. Yeah.
Come on, basically, if you lost your key and you find it after 10 years,
you went to prison, right? So you didn't have access to your Bitcoin, or you're actually mentally challenged or something that you didn't sell at 5x, 10x, 20x. You're completely financially irresponsible if you did that.
Exactly. You're fucking crazy, or you're some kind of, like sick, like
Yeah.
tinfoil guy, So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's move on to the next question. Can you please tell us? So tell us a bit more about the Serbian podcasts.
Okay.
What is the structure? How you kind of already hinted on how it all started and what happened, and you moved it digitally online and so on and so on. But just tell us a quick story about, like what did it go through? How let's say what guests usually come? How do you find them? And any plans, let's say, for the future? How would this evolve?
Yeah. Well. Actually, we are not having guests every week. This is mostly set up is myself and the Pavel from Croatia. He lives in a island in Croatia called Rab, and he's let's say assistant for Sefer Dinamos in Croatia. He's actually publishing Bitcoin Standard, etc., there in Croatia and in Serbia and other countries. And basically, we, him and myself, talk about everything that people ask us in a chat. What we started as a podcast, kind of recording hour and a half on a topic and then publish it, etc., etc., but realized that we actually always kind of missed what people thought it's important for that week or for that month or for that, And then we said, okay, let's try live so you can guys ask us. So every Sunday we share the link in our Telegram group, which has like around 1,000 people now also. We send them the link to the StreamYard so they can join us in a studio in live, or they can ask questions on YouTube. And basically, we realized that it's kind of more important for us to every week to say this same tropes, let's say. Permissionless, what the permissionless means. Peer-to-peer, what the peer-to-peer means. Well, China bans Bitcoin. Well, China banned Bitcoin. And kind of reiterate week after week after week this same basic questions. And we realized that people actually like that. And audience started building it, and we said, okay, no matter how stupid is your question, no matter how which is related to anything, just ask us and let's be there. And from the live, which started like an hour long live, we now have like 4 hours live that people just like, oh wait, but what about Russians? And if I have this wallet, can NSA hack me? And things, we just like really, we are not going into deeps of, I don't know, like real Bitcoin stuff or engineering.
Wait. You just said that you're going through, can the NSA hack me? And you're like, we're not going that deep. We're just talking about if the NSA can hack you.
Come on, that's like a madman talk. I mean, okay. That was my idea of a madman question, but okay, well, never mind. Well, I mean, paranoia is deep with Bitcoiners, you know that. I mean, you're in this area, you know how paranoid these people are, and things like. But basically, it's kind of now Pavel is really almost famous now here in Croatia and Serbia, and because we preach what you just said, like stay humble, stack sats. We don't have any other answer for you except this. But these two are really hard and really, really kind of moving civilization forward. If all of us would do that, do best what we can, just stay humble and stack everything you have in the hardest money possible, I would live in that world. I don't find that world such a bad place in the future. So basically, we were just as let's say, a lighthouse. Every 2 p.m., you can ask whatever you want. And to be honest, it's in our languages, Croatian, Serbian, etc. So you will realize that multilingualism is also needed in all of these ideas. We just say these English words like, which doesn't have much meanings in our economies. We don't have so much principles as from the Western economies, etc., etc. We don't actually head through the history free and open markets. Let's face it. We were on the Eastern Front and kind of, so all of this is new, and it needs content on our languages, Plamen. And that's why it's really cool what you're doing, actually. So, yeah.
Okay. Can you...
Don't you agree with that? I
No,
don't think there are, or it's like everyone will speak English and doesn't matter.
No. Of course, I was gonna say that I actually think that the local language matters a lot, especially in the Eastern Bloc, in the Balkans, and here is why. Because I was thinking, where was they talking about this recently? It was on one podcast where we discussed the Bitcoin adoption in Bulgaria, and I mentioned that actually I'm 36 years old right now. I am kinda the first generation that speaks English in Bulgaria. People older than me, let's say 45 and older, let's say 55, 60, they don't speak English. They speak Russian. And I, as a kid, I studied Russian language until I was 8th grade. So this is like 14 years old, right? So I started studying English at 15 and onwards. And this is just because of, the Russian influence in the USSR, or however it's pronounced in English. And I really feel like having the local discussion, having the local content creators, the people who explain what blockchain is, how come Bitcoin is truly limited to 21 million, how come it's decentralized, how come it's money that cannot be censored, confiscated, and so on, and how come it is digital, but at the same time it has value, because it's not like, I'm going to copy paste the blockchain the same way I can copy paste a picture or a movie, like you mentioned torrents. Yeah, you mentioned torrents earlier, so you were like, if I can download a movie from the internet, why can't I pirate the blockchain of Bitcoin or something like that? So people don't understand this concept that it's not about pirating the blockchain. It's actually free for everyone to download and use. So yeah, I really feel like the local language is very important for adoption, especially in the Balkans.
And to have kind of this connection with the older system, and a kind of a system they're accustomed to. What I'm saying is just like interpreting in a way that they will understand how it's done in our banks. What kind of, just like what's the papers you need for our banks. And I understand that all those terms are maybe explained in English or in legal Serbian, but not in common Serbian, or like in common Croatian language or something like that. They can read on a legal office somewhere, just for compliance in Serbia, you need this and that, but they don't understand it, even if it's in Serbian, because it's a legal language, Harry talk, and things like that. So all of that, it's really helpful for them. And we have actually kind of, let's say, in terms of years, we volumed up our group. I mean, there are people who are 62, 63, 60, and they're just like spewing these concepts from the older economy. Like, but state is behind the money, just like, prove me wrong. But every state knows how much money they printed. And so basically it's a changing paradigm for them. And they can argue if it's in Serbian. If it's in English, they can just listen and say, nah, okay, but they can argue, and then they can win or lose arguments, and it's kind of interesting for everyone, for us, of course, and for them to prove their concepts. Multilingualism is important in many things, especially kind of in finance, because we don't understand how FCC is controlling or how Fed is printing money. We can't understand inherently that. We don't have such a system.
Not only that, I have this question that it might turn that it's stupid, but I don't have the answer to. How can we know that indeed the graphs that were being shown for the M2 money supply, M1 money supply, for how much money was printed yesterday, how can you trust those because it's literally trust. Like there is no way for me to verify. So just in theory, I don't know, maybe yesterday they printed another 10 trillion, right? And maybe we're going to have crazy elevated inflation for the next 2-3 years, maybe. And I think it's like, I cannot know that.
Exactly. Verifying it's a really kind of important part, and Bitcoin network is verified every 10 minutes. Like imagine all world gold vaults, audited every 10 minutes. That's basically how I explain to someone who is over 50, because he cannot comprehend it differently. This is not a true analogy, but it's really kind of a closest. When they start but for example, the France is backing their money with the gold in Swiss bank. So we say, okay, but how do you know it's a Swiss bank? Or whatever it is. I mean, and then how I can explain it as a Bitcoin, I'm saying, well, imagine Bitcoin is a system where you can enter every Swiss vault every 10 minutes and kind of count all gold bars and say, yep, everything is there, fine. And that maybe brings the closer to them and the idea of verifiability or what a public ledger and things like that, because public ledger is not something which was common here.
Yeah.
And power were with the state, and we didn't question that in Eastern Europe. You can maybe agree, but power was with the state, and it should stay with the state. Kind of people think like that.
Yeah. And there is definitely a need for a different approach when you speak about Bitcoin with different people who maybe show some interest but don't trust it and so on. Bulgaria also went through hyperinflation in 96, 97. We added 3 zeros to the money. So let's say something that was 2 leva become 2,000 leva and so on. And
times 1,000, immediately times 1,000, you became rich.
yeah. We were all millionaires. We were all rich. And my points, like what we were saying about the verification and the audits of the where the goat is and so on. So I'm even thinking how with let's say real estate. With real estate, like it's there. I can see it. It's definitely there. I live in my house every day. And let's say I'm living abroad and I'm coming every summer to my house in Bulgaria. But there were quite a few cases, and I'm not talking about 20 years ago or 10 years ago. Even last year, there were quite a few cases of British people who bought a house in Bulgaria just to retire here, like let's say in the next 5 years. So they're preparing for retirement. So they buy a house, they go back to UK, continue working. Next summer they come and their kids they don't work. Why? Because the house is sold to someone else. And they're like I never sold the house, I never got any money out of it. So apparently with faking some documents and so on, someone just sold the house.
Double spend.
Yeah, double spend, literally double spend, yeah. And my point is that even with physical things that are your own and you know where they are and you're confident, I saw the house right there last year, I'm sure it's going to be there next year, the house might be there, but the paper that is with the government that says that it's your house, well, that might not be there next year.
Jesus, yeah, I know those cases in Belgrade also. They just like build a building and sold those apartments to the 4 different people, just like same apartment in a new building. And whoever would enter first would be just like, what? Why are you guys coming? So exactly. You're right. I mean, even if it's a tangible thing, doesn't mean it's yours always, of course. You mentioned one thing. Another thing is like after the World War II, like a lot of land and everything else is confiscated from the people here in Serbia or whoever was, I don't know, against the Communist Party or whatever was the formulation there, but it's a confiscation. So basically even those hard assets can be taken away. But this asset is so elusive that it's globally sent and globally received, which is really make it hard to seize it. And it's counterintuitive because digital things are usually easier to break, to hack, copy, torrent or whatever, change or kind of make it different. It's counterintuitive. counterintuitive to tell someone, well, your Bitcoin cannot be taken from you. It doesn't ring any bells. So as you said, we need a kind of a different paradigm. Compare it with something in a real or kind of a basic world, let's say it, in order to approach it more to the older generation. But as we said at the beginning, I'm not so confident that the older people will actually be a major wave of future use. It's on new digital natives. It's on new digital natives to decide this.
Yeah, I hear you.
So, Plamen, what is the? Can I ask you what? I'm really not kind of. I'm not into the scene in Bulgaria. What's going on? How is Bulgaria doing?
In terms of Bitcoin?
Yeah,
I think very well. It's. I feel like until 2020, it was bad. It was stagnating, and so in 2020 is when I started my community, when I started my channel, and until I showed up, there was only one other person who was doing semi-regular content. When I say semi-regular, I mean not even every week, right? Could be like once a month, could be every third month, could be sometimes 3 times a month, but irregular content. So I contacted him and we started a podcast back then in 2020. And in 2021 is when we started for the first time the meetups. So there was already a group in Sofia that was doing monthly meetups, but it was only one and it was only in Sofia, and that's it. And since then we had the Bulgarian conference. Since then a lot of other people in the last 5 years started engaging with the Bitcoin adoption. So we have multiple books written in Bulgarian language about Bitcoin. We have a few children books written about Bitcoin. We have a not monthly, but let's say every 6 months a meetup for the merchants that accept Bitcoin, where they can, just discuss the different hurdles of accepting Bitcoin, keeping it on the books of the company, what payment processor to use in order for cheaper fees or whatever, and so on and so on and so on. There was a Bulgarian club, football club, Botev Plovdiv, that put Bitcoin logos on their t-shirts, and sadly this ended. It's a different topic, but sadly this ended because reasons, but it continued for at least for a year. They had a Bitcoin director, they accepted Bitcoin payments for their tickets and so on. So this initiative was going very well. Sadly, at the end, I think it kind of ended or fully ended, I'm not sure. Because they fired the director. Then what else do we have? I don't know, like quite a few communities started since 2020 onwards.
Yeah,
so
I feel think that's also important. Yeah.
The difference, there is a massive difference than 2020 and 2025. Massive, and especially in the amount of Bitcoiners. Like for instance, with my community, we went to Madeira last year in 2024. We went to Las Vegas. We saw JD Vance, for instance. We saw how was the Trump brothers. Obviously, they were there. Oh my God, what was his name from Silk Road? The guy who went to jail for quite a few. You know who I mean. I just the name I forgot. Someone's gonna write it in the chat in a moment, but you know who I'm talking about. So my point is that we had, we have a proper community where we organize each other. We go literally next week. We're going to Greece again, the Bitcoin community. So compared to 5 years ago, the Bitcoin adoption in Bulgaria is like way ahead. Like work for like 15 years, not for 5 years.
Well, to be honest, in Europe, and it's people kind of start being aware more because of this new law on cold wallets, etc. What's going to happen? But part of was inflation. It is kind of a hardship, economical hardship. I think that it actually kind of helped for more people to realize, oh no, wait, inflation, how to battle inflation, what is the nice asset. I'm sure that people first look at SP 500 or something like that, but then just like realize, okay, maybe there is something better. And often here, Bitcoin is kind of considered as a tech bond. Like it's a tech company and you're buying a bond from the tech company. But of course, it's not like that. But people also relate it with this. So maybe I also, of course, acknowledge that from 2020 to now that a lot of Europeans are actually awakening. Europeans were not so into Bitcoin. This was also always technology for which was promoted in the States, in Western East Asia, and Africa, Western Africa, MENA region, etc. At the beginning, and Ulbricht, the guy is called Scott Ulbricht. I remember now from the Silk Road. And so basically, Europe was not so, as I said, so kind of touched with this. And this inflation knocking on the door and like a loss of value, let's say, kind of pushed people into alternatives. It's not that this is a new age, new world. It's just like we're not doing very well in this fiat world. That's why people are asking for something different. I don't think it's so hard to, even in Europe, of course. Europe was always close to anything like this.
Do you know what? We haven't mentioned one kind of important word when we talk about fiat, Bitcoin, and the future of money. CBDC.
Oh God, just don't get me started.
I have to sadly, because didn't they from Serbia is not yet in European Union, but you know that the ECB is working hard on it, and just I think in the past week, Lagarde have pushed the Euro Commission to start working hard on pushing the legislation needed in order for the CBDC to be recognized as money. So they are actually, they set the pilot program in October, but I feel like pilot program in October and CBDC from January 1st, 2026. Like it feels like it.
Well, let's hope not. Let's everyone hope not. I'm really familiar with the project. I was in some working groups, and I talk and speak against that for a decade now. And I really think this is gonna be a bad move if countries go there. I know it looks like a logical step forward in an evolution of money, but it's not. It's something completely different. I don't find it necessary for the future. I find it, to be honest, as a tool of oppression. And I really, really, really hope that governments will ditch this. As you remember, pilot program starting almost 2019, first pilot programs, not a single country adopted CBDC. They are still kind of aware that this would be a really bad look. Killing the cash, killing the only private way of money is, in a way, just like an entry to a totalitarianism and full control and government who can control where you can spend your money, how you can spend it, and on what, which is really not freedom. So let's all of us hope that in some sense we will never go to the cashless society. In my opinion, this is kind of an ultimate tool for oppression. Sorry to be dark on this, but I told you, I mean, don't even get me started. There are really layered discussions on this for years now. From the Bank of England, Bank for International Settlements, many national banks, Fairbank, everyone has a detailed kind of plans how to implement it, but everyone agrees that this is a bad move, because it actually changed the dynamics which is there from the beginning of money. Programmable money, it's not something on my agenda which would be like really cool. I'm not sure what's your opinion on it, but that's in short. Of course, if you want, we can dedicate like an hour and a half with arguments, from the central banks, with arguments from the economics and the kind of social cultural impact that can have. It's really weird, to be honest. CBDC should not be put into place. in my opinion.
We're most probably on the same opinion of the issues with the CBDC, with their desire to see every single transaction, having in mind, because this conversation kind of started before the large language models were properly, became mainstream and the potential of them. So my point is that today, with the existence of the large language models, you can even do crazy spying on people that was not possible before that. Because now, even if you have some algorithms, some, standard, I think just the algorithm is the most proper word that would detect some payments in which you are interested. Let's say people who spend too much on traveling or too much on something else. They now would be able to even to give the reports to a large language model, a bunch of reports, and then to summarize those. So it's going to save you so much time in order to be able to properly navigate to how are people spending their money and for you to be able to push them in one direction or another. So we'll be on the same page on this. However, though, the issue is that me and you, we both know it's a bad idea. I think it's very easy to push for adoption there compared to Bitcoin, because all you need to do is to say from next month, or let's say in 3 months, everyone who is on disability benefits must download the new ECB wallet, right?
I understand what you're saying. Or helicopter money.
Everyone exactly. It's easy. Either you use it, either you download the app. That's the question, and you decide.
Let me answer that. Are you, Amel? Conformism and conformity is the thing that will, of course, push it. But what I'm saying is that governments will have one unusual adversary here. Until the creation of money, and still it's like that, governments didn't have accounts with their citizens. So myself as a Serb, I don't have account in the National Bank of Serbia. I don't. National Bank of Serbia do not deliver me any money. They just kind of try to regulate a bank in Serbia who actually is giving me an account and all the financial issues. With CBDC, governments could open a direct account with every of its citizens. And as you described it, push for helicopter money, or push for you will have 50% off if you pay it with CBDC. Or things like that, of course. And for a poor people, that would be just no-brainer. But it will totally exclude the finance sector. And they are gonna fight for this not to happen. Not us. People cannot stop this. It's not about us against government in this. It's about the financial banking sector against the central banking. And I think that financial sector will win. I hope that. So we need to have a third party. Imagine, in a free country that will be, SMS from a government. You spent too much money on wine plumbing last month. Are you alcoholic? Can you just slow down, or things like that? But can you imagine a government in, I don't know, some country which will actually see how you voted and tell you can spend this $100 in my office or in my shop buying my stuff, or this money will expire? Can you imagine that?
I can.
But come on, why? Oh God, Jesus! Let's hope not.
No, I see that you're actually positive. What's the correct word? You don't think it's coming. You think the financial sector is gonna fight back. I don't see it. I think they're gonna shake hands. I think they're gonna think of ways for the financial sector to make money with it, and they'll be like, "Yeah, sounds good. Let's continue."
Okay, let's see. I have a hope in free people. I have a hope in freedom. I'm not gonna just bulge. And well, until it's not like this, And what I see is 8 years of prolongation. Come on, this can be done with Tether. This could be done with their XRP or whatever stablecoin, other their technology is there. There's no need for like pilot projects. Come on, that's just like, just catching the pulse of people. It's not piloting what. Hyperledger is doing that for years. There is nothing like technologically sexy that they need to implement or anything like that. This is a direct push against it from the people who still think the financial freedom is important.
Okay.
I hope this, and I will be on that side. So yeah.
I hope you're right.
Well, that's best we can do, Plamen. Well.
Yeah. Okay, so you're coming to Bulgaria in October. Can you just like give me a brief from your perspective on the BTC Balkans conference? Like, how were you approached? What are you gonna talk about? Did you buy a flight ticket? Are you driving here? And so on. Just like, your perspective.
I will drive to the Sofia. It's really close. It's a couple of hours, so I will drive there, and we will talk about building community. We will talk about how can community be built around a simple idea and spread positivity, spread like fight against fear porn, fight against all of this, things that just kind of distract you from the main things. So about building community, we'll talk about building community, and I'm really, really glad I'm going to be in Sofia. And to be honest, Balkan, I'm not sure is it overarching for everyone, but it is that very name has something in it. Bitcoin Balkan, it's kind of a double rebellious. So let's see what's going to happen. I mean, it's about Bitcoin and on the Balkans. Oh, come on, it's going to be some great stuff. So we're going to talk, I'm going to talk, and we're going to talk about building communities, how not to kind of lose your faith, and how to, keep, just keep being positive and building slowly.
Okay. Do you know any other Serbians who might be coming?
I think that one of the CEO of our exchange offices is coming, Alexandra Matanovic. I think he is, and I think that one girl from Tinker or something like that. It's a company in Serbia. Is coming. So that's going to be from Serbia, I think. But on this panel, it's going to be a lot of other Balkan countries. We will have representative Croatia, Philip, and it's going to be Nikola from Montenegro, and someone from Bulgaria. So basically, it's going to be about building community, because they are all now kind of slowly building now, and have this first phase of cleansing from extremes, and just like focusing on, just like important stuff such as financial freedom and future. But there is a lot of Bitcoiners in Serbia on a general basis, just like hodlers, etc. And at the beginning, there was a large mining community in Serbia, but all of them just like make money in 2019, 80, and never ever just come back and looked back, basically. And now kids are more interested in freedom, Plamen, than in making money, which is really kind of music to my heart.
Nice. Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for your time. I think we've taken already like an hour and a half.
Yeah, I didn't see it, but it was a nice discussion. Thanks, Plamen, for inviting me.
Awesome. So I will see you in October, and to whoever watched live or is gonna watch the recording of our conversation, if you would like to reach out to you, are you on Twitter or anyone else where they can contact you?
Yeah, on Twitter, Arvin K.
Okay.
That's it on Twitter.
I'll find you, and I'll leave the handle, the link in the description of this stream.
Cool, Plamen.
Okay.
Thank you very much again for inviting me, and see you in October.
See you.
Bye-bye.